Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to.
And I'm the only one who's been vocal about this long before it actually. But I also didn't participate. I also didn't go to those parties.
Yeah. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did.
This is real life that we're talking about. We're not talking about dingleberries and applesauce.
Nobody expected it to come from Terrence Howard. Not like this. Not now. But here we are, and what he just revealed about Diddy's world has left everyone stunned. This wasn't just a vague comment or an offhanded jab. Terrance walked straight into a podcast interview and started talking, unfiltered, unapologetic, and weirdly calm, about something that has haunted the industry for years. And this time, he didn't come empty-handed, because what he had wasn't just a story, it was proof. And apparently, he sent that proof to 50 Cent, and it involved none other than Young Miami. Now, let's be very clear. What Terrance is talking about isn't your everyday Hollywood gossip. No, this was about the kind of behind-the-scenes behavior that most celebrities never speak on publicly. The kind of dark, uncomfortable stuff that gets whispered about at private parties and swept under the rug by publicists. But for reasons only he fully understands, Terrance decided he wasn't staying quiet anymore. According to him, years ago, he was contacted by Diddy, who said he needed help with acting. That's right. Diddy wanted Terrance to be his acting coach. At first, it seemed like a strange but harmless request. Terrance agreed. Maybe it was just another industry favor. But when he showed up, the energy was off. Terrance says Diddy wasn't acting like a man trying to work. He was acting like a man with other plans. Terrance didn't say exactly what those plans were, but the way he tells it, they weren't professional. His assistant even warned him ahead of time, saying Diddy might be trying to make a move. That's when the alarms started going off. Terrance says he wasn't having it. He shut everything down, made it clear he wasn't playing games, and walked away. But here's the part that makes everything even messier. Terrance is claiming that his experience wasn't unique. He believes Diddy made similar approaches to nearly every man who came to those infamous private parties. According to him, it wasn't about partying, it was about control, about stripping men of their dignity. And if you chose not to go along with it, you got iced out of the industry. And Terrance says that's exactly what happened to him. He was blacklisted, slowly pushed out, branded as difficult, and lost major opportunities. Not because of talent, not because of scandals, but because he said no to something that didn't feel right. If that was the end of the story, it would already be wild enough. But it doesn't end there. Because Terrance didn't just speak on Diddy, he also dropped a bomb about Young Miami. And this is where things start to spiral. He claimed that Young Miami was present at some of these so-called freak-off events, and that what she did, or what was caught on camera, was way worse than anything the public has heard. Again, he didn't spill every detail, but what he implied was loud enough to get the internet talking. And then 50 Cent entered the picture. Allegedly, Terrance sent the footage, the actual video, to 50 Cent. And if you know anything about 50, you know this man lives for chaos, but even he seemed hesitant to get involved. At first, he posted a cryptic no-comment response, but soon after, he started teasing something darker, hinting that there might be something he's holding on to, something he might not be able to keep quiet forever. And if that's true, Young Miami might be in deeper than anyone realized. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, yes, this is still alleged. No one has publicly confirmed that the footage exists, and 50 Cent hasn't posted it yet. But the way Terrence Howard described the situation, it wasn't vague. He made it clear that people at those events weren't just partying. They were being coerced, lured, or manipulated into situations they didn't fully understand until it was too late. And he wasn't talking in metaphors. He used phrases like giving up your manhood, and you can't come back from that. It's not just disturbing, it's systemic. And Terrance believes that system is what ended his career. For years, fans and industry insiders have speculated why Terrence Howard seemingly stepped away from acting at the height of his career. He had major roles, a loyal fan base, and real momentum. But suddenly, he just stopped. Now we're being told that wasn't by choice. According to Terrance, the industry didn't just slow down for him. It shut the door in his face after he refused to play along. He says he was pressured into doing things that stripped away his masculinity, including wearing dresses in scenes that had nothing to do with the story. He stood his ground, said no, and just like that, the offer started drying up. This is something other black male actors have quietly echoed for years. Cat Williams, for example, has been vocal about the way Hollywood attempts to emasculate men, sometimes through wardrobe, sometimes through behavior, and often through quiet pressure masked as opportunity. The idea is, play the game or you don't get to play at all. That's where Terrance draws the line. He says being a man, especially a strong black man, is seen as a threat in certain rooms. And when you stand tall instead of bending to fit in, the machine finds a way to break you down or shut you out. Now, let's talk about how Young Miami fits into all of this, because this part of the story gets even uglier. Terrance didn't stop at subtle hints. He openly mentioned that Young Miami was present at some of these freak-off parties. And while we don't know exactly what she did, what's being said off the record is disturbing. There are rumors, and yes, we're labeling them clearly as rumors, that suggest Young Miami wasn't just a guest. She was allegedly involved in ways that go beyond attendance. She's been accused of being an active participant in some of the more controversial behaviors that happened behind closed doors. And according to 50 Cent, whatever footage Terrance sent him includes clips of Young Miami doing things that, if made public, could permanently damage her image, or worse. That alone would be enough to break the internet. But it doesn't stop there, because once Terrance's interview gained traction, people started pulling receipts, screenshots, clips, statements, and the timeline started to look different. There's also the issue of Diddy's other side pieces, including Gina Hine. And the feud between Gina and Young Miami? Yeah, that wasn't just a petty spat. According to leaked messages and online posts, Young Miami allegedly threatened Gina after she posted a photo with Diddy. And those threats weren't cute. She accused Gina of being desperate, of crying over a baby she couldn't have, of being used and discarded. Her words were brutal and public. It painted a picture of someone deeply invested in protecting her position around Diddy. Some even say it looked more like possession than love. And then came the legal bombshells. Court documents from a woman listed as Jane Doe alleged some horrifying events involving Diddy, including being given substances without consent, blacking out, and waking up with bruises. Even more chilling, the documents claim Young Miami was connected to the situation. Jane Doe said that after she found out she was pregnant with Diddy's child, she began getting harassed, not just by Diddy's people, but allegedly by Caresha Brownlee, aka Young Miami. According to the suit, she was pressured to terminate the pregnancy and eventually suffered a miscarriage. Now again, all of this is from legal filings and anonymous sources. Nothing has been proven in court yet, but these aren't random tweets or online rumors. These are documents filed through the legal system. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get darker, more names got pulled into the mess. One of the most disturbing allegations comes from a man named Rodney Lil Rod Jones, who filed a lawsuit that included even more explosive claims, ones that pull Young Miami and her own relatives into the chaos. According to the lawsuit, she wasn't just around Diddy's parties. She was allegedly helping run them behind the scenes. And what Lil Rod described, it wasn't just shady. It was criminal. He says there was a moment at one of Diddy's events when Young Miami's cousin suddenly burst into the bathroom while he was inside. According to his account, this woman began aggressively groping him and attempted to initiate a sexual act right there without consent. Lil Rod believes this wasn't random. He says Diddy sent her in as part of some orchestrated attempt to humiliate or control him. He pushed her off and left, but she reportedly followed him, tried to undress, and continued making physical advances, all while Diddy's staff stood by and watched. That's not a scene out of a drama series. That's something out of a nightmare, and it wasn't an isolated incident either. On another occasion, Thanksgiving night, 2022, Lil Rod says he was asked to go into the studio bathroom with Diddy and another man. Diddy allegedly wanted them to use a $100 bill to snort coke with him, Lil Rod says he got lucky. He didn't have the cash. But later, Diddy went ahead and did it anyway, this time with Young Miami. If true, this wasn't just recreational. It was coordinated, casual, and deeply disturbing. And then there's the transportation claims. Lil Rod accused Young Miami of personally bringing substances to Diddy, no matter where he was, even on private jets. In one specific claim, she allegedly delivered the drugs to Diddy while they were preparing for a music festival. It paints her as more than a bystander, as an active accomplice in a much larger, organized web of behavior. But it gets worse. Court filings go as far as to claim that Young Miami, along with 2 other women, was being paid a monthly fee to serve as Diddy's private sex worker. Allegedly, they were wired payments through intermediaries, including a woman named Robin Greenhill, who's been linked to Diddy's inner circle for years. These claims suggest a long-running, intentional system, one that blurred the lines between personal relationships and something far more transactional and toxic. Now again, we have to say this. These claims are part of ongoing lawsuits, not proven facts. But the volume of overlapping stories, the consistency in the accusations, and the way these names keep coming up, it's hard to ignore, especially when people like 50 Cent are sitting on unreleased videos that allegedly confirm some of it. And that's where the real tension is brewing, because 50 Cent isn't exactly known for keeping secrets, especially not ones that could shake up the entertainment industry. He's been at war with Diddy for years, throwing jabs on social media, teasing revelations, and refusing to let things slide. The moment he hinted at having footage from Terrence Howard, the timeline exploded. At first, people didn't know what to make of it. Was he trolling? Was he bluffing? But those close to the situation say it's real, and he's just deciding how and when to use it. If that footage contains anything close to what Terrance described, especially involving Young Miami, then the internet isn't ready for what comes next. Think about it. We've already seen public fallout over much less. Careers ended over tweets. Brand deals dropped over bad interviews. If video surfaces of actual freak-off footage, and if Young Miami is involved in any way, the consequences could be catastrophic. And let's not forget who we're talking about here. Young Miami isn't some fringe figure. She's a public personality, part of one of the most recognizable rap duos in recent years, and often positioned as the face of cool, unbothered confidence. But if even a fraction of what's being alleged is true, that entire brand could crash overnight. The internet is already buzzing with questions. Why was she so defensive when Gina posted that pic with Diddy? Why did she lash out so violently in those messages? Why is her name coming up in multiple lawsuits? And what did 50 Cent really mean when he said he had no comment, only to start posting cryptic stuff a few days later? The silence is louder than words, and that silence is starting to look like fear. But here's the thing. This isn't just about Young Miami. This is about what the public is slowly beginning to realize about how Hollywood power actually works. About how some people move through the industry unchecked for years, protected by money, fame, and silence. And how, when someone finally breaks the pattern like Terrence Howard just did, the whole house of cards starts to shake. Terrance, who was once dismissed as difficult and emotional, now sounds more like a whistleblower. A man who saw too much, refused to go along with it, and is finally, years later, being taken seriously. And when someone like that starts naming names, people listen. The ripple effect from Terrence Howard's statements is already being felt, not just in blogs or social media gossip, but in the way people are re-examining past behavior. Not just his, but everyone's who was even loosely associated with Diddy's inner circle. That includes Young Miami. That includes the assistants, the producers, the guests. Suddenly, nothing feels like a coincidence. People are beginning to dig into the timeline. Why did Terrance leave acting at the peak of his fame? Why were there whispers about him being difficult, but never any real scandals attached to his name? Why did he walk away from millions when other actors were willing to do anything to stay relevant? According to Terrance, it's because he valued his manhood more than a paycheck. And once he made that choice, he says Hollywood labeled him as uncooperative, a troublemaker, not because he caused problems on set, but because he refused to play along behind the scenes. He didn't want to wear the dress. He didn't want to hang out with people under false pretenses. He wasn't willing to be part of something that went against who he was as a man. And when he talks about that now, you can tell it still bothers him. Not the fallout, the fact that so many others didn't say no. The ones who went to those parties, who gave in, who lost their man cards, as he put it, believes there's a price for that. And once you've paid it, you can't get it back. He's not the only one to feel this way. Cat Williams, Dave Chappelle, Cat G, they've all touched on similar ideas. The idea that the industry rewards those who submit, not necessarily those who are the most talented, and that submission comes in forms people don't always see. It's not just about signing contracts. It's about slowly being shaped into someone you're not. Accepting things you once swore you never would. Now let's circle back to 50 Cent. Because this man isn't just a passive bystander in all this. He's been trolling, hinting, and strategically leaking breadcrumbs for years. And in this case, he might be sitting on one of the biggest pieces of evidence the public has never seen. It's not just that he allegedly has footage, it's that he has context. 50 Cent knows how to spin a story, how to set the internet on fire, and how to expose someone without ever saying their name outright. So when he suddenly posts cryptic messages after Terrence Howard drops bombshells, people pay attention. He knows what that footage might contain. And more importantly, he knows what it could mean for young Miami, who up until now has managed to skate past most of the allegations surrounding Diddy. She's played the role of the unbothered partner, the one who claps back at critics, and who seems untouchable when drama breaks out. But this time, it's not just online beef. These are court-documented claims. These are videos that allegedly show behavior most celebrities wouldn't want seen, let alone discussed. And here's where it really starts to hit. If this footage is real, and if it shows young Miami participating in anything illegal, abusive, or manipulative, it could mean the end of multiple careers. Not just hers, Diddy's, anyone tied to those events. Because one video doesn't just confirm rumors, it opens the floodgates. It would give credibility to Jane Doe's lawsuit, to Lil Rod's account. It could trigger more women and even men to come forward with stories they were too scared to share before. That's what real fallout looks like. And the industry knows it. That's why so many people are staying quiet. Because once something like this leaks, there's no walking it back. It won't be about PR damage control or legal maneuvering. It'll be about truth, ugly, complicated, career-ending truth. Meanwhile, young Miami continues to post as if nothing's wrong. But behind the scenes, sources are saying she's nervous, that she's doing everything she can to keep things contained, allegedly reaching out to legal teams, talking to publicists, preparing for what might be coming next. Because the moment 50 Cent decides to stop holding back, if he really has what Terrance claims he does, it's over. And let's not forget what that footage represents. It's not just a scandal, it's a shift in power. A reminder that even the most protected people in the industry can still fall when someone decides to expose them. And this time, the person doing the exposing isn't a blogger or a random ex. It's Terrence Howard, someone who was on the inside, someone who saw it all, and someone who finally had enough. So now we wait. Because while Terrence Howard lit the match, and 50 Cent may be holding the flame, the rest of the industry is standing in a room soaked in gasoline. Everyone's watching, refreshing feeds, scanning for updates, wondering if today's the day the footage leaks. And not just because of curiosity, but because of what it represents. If it drops, it'll be the biggest moment in the Diddy fallout saga, and young Miami will no longer be a side character in this narrative. She'll be front and center, not just in headlines, but in legal risk, public backlash, and a total dismantling of the image she spent years building. And it's not just her fans who will feel it. Brands, labels, sponsors, everyone who's backed her, worked with her, or tried to attach themselves to her popularity will be forced to choose a side, stay and burn with her, or walk away fast. In this moment, silence is a strategy. No denial, no clarification, just quiet. But the problem is, in this industry, silence doesn't protect you. It just delays the inevitable. The internet doesn't forget, and lawsuits don't go away. And when the narrative starts turning against you, the only thing worse than saying the wrong thing is saying nothing at all. Behind the scenes, damage control is likely already underway. Lawyers preparing statements, crisis teams mapping out responses, maybe even people reaching out to 50 Cent behind closed doors, begging him not to post. But 50 doesn't fold easily. If anything, pressure fuels him. And Terrance? He's still standing tall, still saying the same things he's always said. Except now, people are actually listening. Because for years, the industry tried to make him a cautionary tale. Look what happens when you speak out. But now he's looking more like a case study in telling the truth and waiting for the world to catch up. The irony is, everything Terrance warned about, the manipulation, the backroom politics, the twisted power dynamics, are all now being exposed by the very people who tried to silence him. And whether you believe every detail or not, one thing is undeniable. He never changed his story. In fact, the only thing that's changed is the world finally realizing he might have been right all along. This story isn't finished, not even close. The lawsuits are ongoing, the court dates are coming, and the internet has its eyes locked on every move. One leaked clip, one news statement, one text message, that's all it'll take to set this thing off again. But for now, there's only tension, the kind you feel right before something explodes. And if you followed Diddy's name in the news lately, or Young Miami's silence, or 50 Cent's subtle hints, then you already know. Stick around, because what comes next? You're not gonna want to miss it, so don't forget to like and subscribe.